quick announcements for those people that need to hear them. I've got people have asked like what I need, and one thing that I need is very simple. I've got 288 high top covers. I've got some samples on eBay. If people can go check those out, that'd be great. But we have new high top covers coming. What I need is basically to sell some high top covers. If anybody can pass the word around, whatever, let people know that if they want 288 high tops, please contact me or check on eBay or stay tuned or all that stuff. We've got all that coming, and I apologize for not going live as much. I've been very, very busy. So I've got a little bit of cleanup here. What else? So we've got some unboxings today. We've got 266 crankcases here. I've got 372 crankcases over there from Mike. I've got unboxings from HL Supply. I've got all kinds of stuff here. So let me bring it up here. For those people that are not familiar with this is a whole lot more fun to watch live, so please join. That way you can ask questions. Hey, Bob and Dennis, welcome. I wanted to get this 266 kind of out of the way, and then we're going to hopefully get on to 372 for Marcello. Just set this. Okay, that way I can see. That way I can see comments. 9 people here. Lately, I haven't had tons of people hanging out. It's been a little bit odd, but I'm sorry, guys. I know I haven't been going live that much. I've been busy. I've been actually working on the house, so there's lots to do on the house. Alpo, howdy. Just want to make sure that these are actually good here. For those people that aren't familiar, this is not a cooking show. I don't necessarily have everything prepared. I've shipped a few kits lately, which has been cool. Anybody wants toolkits, they can contact me. I'll put my email here down in the description. The big thing these days, of course, is 288s. We've got lots of 288 stuff going, which is really exciting. I have not just high top covers. These are just the samples, by the way. But I have high top covers, but I also have we'll actually have some high top filter options as well. So for those people that want all that stuff, then it'll be available. Okay, so let's do a 266 crankcase. And this is pretty smooth and whatnot. Everything's smooth and clean and pretty ready to go. But on the 266, there's a few things to kind of look out for. You're on both bearing sets, you want to make sure that you've got the oiler and this other piece down, and that way you can pull the bearing against it. So we're going to work on that. So if anybody has any questions, they can always ask, and hopefully I answer in real time. So, I forgot to do. You can have the seal in; doesn't really matter. We'll pop that out later. But what you cannot have in is the rubber O-ring. You've got to pull this rubber O-ring. So just as a comparison, by the way, we've got 2 of them, but There's the old versus the new. Put it over here for you. Yuck. So these O-rings are indeed substituted. You can find them. I have a whole video on O-ring substitution, so if anybody wants to go check that out, that'd be great. Is the 266 like a 61? Yeah, this is the dual coil crankcase. Similar. So yes, you want the O-ring out of there, and then you actually put the oiler in temporarily, just as a spacer, basically. Why is that rocking? There. Okay. So this quad ring, also this tiny little O-ring, comes out as well, and that'll get replaced. And again, I have that on my substitution video. There was last year, I think I did that video. I don't even know. So you guys can look it up though on Husqvarna O-ring substitutions. Not looking for junk O-rings. I'm looking for O-rings that are as good as OEM, but not $5 a piece like Husqvarna tends to charge, which drives me berserk. Because if you're doing a lot of these crankcases, then you're going to want to have a lot of O-rings on hand. It's always nice to have that. So now we have this where it actually positions the bearing this direction. We're going to pull the bearing against it. I'm going to do the same thing with there's a seal holder for the flywheel side. It's the same deal. You're always got to get rid of every time you do this, you got to pull that O-ring, get rid of it. And you're just going to be pulling the bearing against the nylon, so it's not like there's lots of force on this. Your little M3 screws. I think these are 16mm long. 4mm head M3, and these actually have washers. We'll go over seal install later. I think I got that in these boxes, so we'll get to that. I think. So now you've got your nylon seal holder in, your oiler in. Now get the bearings going. Before we do that, I like to do a little bit of anti-seize in here just to make it easier to pull the bearings in. They tend to go in smoother. Doesn't need much, just a tiny bit. Any questions or comments, guys? I like to get these started. Just so that they're straight. Hey, Georgie. Now you've got your nut and washers. Got to be a good assortment of washers. These fender washers work perfectly with these oilers. Need some 3/4 ratchets here, sockets. Whatever you want to do. But you can feel it going in. Smooth like butter. Show. So the bearing's just getting pressed in, and there's no harm to the bearing here. It's going to go in, and it'll stop when it stops. These Nachi bearings happen to be open. I didn't have to pop the seals out or anything. But there they are. Done. You can do this hot too. If you heat up the case, you can drop it in, but I don't like heating up the oiler unless it's an old oiler. Again, just for positioning purposes, it can be an old oiler. But yeah, that's essentially how you put a bearing in there. Really easy. Don't need to make it super complicated. And I try not to do too much of the hot and cold stuff, and the reason is, A, because you get something hot, it's dangerous. There is that. Takes time, too. This is much simpler. Start this. Just even. Make sure it's even. On through again, you want to put pressure on the outer race, not the inner race. Here, let's see. Yeah. You want to grab the nylon as solidly as possible, and then once you have the nylon, you're good. Because then you're pressing the bearing against the nylon, and then you're not going to crack it. Again, I can use an impact for this, but I'm not just. Again, you should feel it smooth like butter. Hey, Tim. Yeah, it's kind of warm. They said high of 90 up here today. That's it. Yeah, it's 90 here. Connecticut. Connecticut's up and down like that. It's really funny. There you go. There she's in. Okay, so I don't need this setup anymore. Again, just 1/2-inch threaded rod. Good assortment of washers, and the fender 1/2-inch fender washers are really nice. A bunch of them. It's good to stack. And some nuts. Incidentally, you could probably use a bolt, a 1/2-inch bolt for that too. Instead of threaded rod. Okay. So now we double, triple check. We have everything clean and degreased. Clean, flat, degreased. Take this out because we don't need the seal holder in there now. I'm going to go back and do that later. You'll see. That later. Just wanted to position the bearings appropriately. That's all. Same thing with the oiler. We can take that off. Okay, that'll be a whole other ball game to do later on. Again, I think these are 16 millimeter M3 all the way around here. On the 288, it's 20 millimeters M3s. Loctite. I'm not going to Loctite the 2 front bolts because they are dog bolts. I'll probably just put the dog on later. Three bonds 1184. 3 bond 1184. Use this as kind of just in case. You can just put a gasket on here and call it, but I like having a little bit of extra insurance on here. I usually do the flywheel side first. Thin layer, Don't need to go crazy. Don't need it back there. Okay, so you want to let this tack for just a minute. That's why I do that side first, because I'm going to let that tack for a little bit longer. Because once it tacks really well, then the gasket will stick better to it. The hope here is once the 288 high tops sell, then we're going to be moving on to this saw. That's the hope. But I gotta get the 288 high tops going first. So hopefully some production this week, and then I'll have a bundle of them that I can sell and also put on the new website, which is coming. Thanks to Steve from, also known as X Canuck, from OPE Forum. So very exciting. All right, so this has had a minute to tack. Nice and even, looks good. Okay, put that off to the side for just a minute. Now I need to get the crank in here. So if anybody's interested in crank tools, they can just go down in the chat. You can find my email in the chat here. Okay, special rods. There we go. So let's show you the crank tools. Need a rod. Now you got to inspect the crank, of course, make sure it's all nice and clean and ready to go, which it is. This is fine. Make sure the big end bearing cage doesn't have any cracks in it. No up and down play. A little bit of side to side is okay. Spent the afternoon a little cold. Couldn't keep the kids out of the water. Yeah, I'll bet. So this actually is coarse thread, and you know, this is a good opportunity to change this out, but you need actually a fine thread crank. But I'm not going to worry about that for right now, because I think the clutch on this is going to be fine, so just not that worried. So, proper rod, sleeve. Now we need a nut and washer and handle. For those people that are wondering, I do sell this as a kit. This is an additional rod to the main kit because most of the time you're not using you're not doing old school 61 like this or 266, but a main kit for doing about 90% of the relevant saws is $180 shipped. If you want this 61 rod, it's an additional $30. So, one of the hardest things to do in all of chainsaw building is put a crankcase together. So here, we're going to make it easy. We've got the rod, the sleeve, the handle, the nut and the washer, and turn it down. Just that easy, the crank's going to get sucked right into the inner race of the bearing. There's zero bad forces put on the bearing here. No lateral forces, you're not going to wreck anything. And if you get halfway through it, you want to take a phone call, take a phone call. You know what I mean? That's it. Undo everything. Again, all this goes together loosey-goosey. So this just comes right off. In case anybody's wondering, this is 1/2" UNC left hand. So Husky had to screw things up by using a thread like that, but whatever. Okay, that rod goes away. Red rod. So now I need to do the flywheel side. That side looks good. Gasket's ready to go. Gooped up. If you need to change out like the bar studs or anything like that, now's a good time, but those are fine. I'm just not that worried about it. This case just does not have lots of mileage on it. Very important to have the positioning pins in the correct spot. If you do not, you got a problem. Paul Rhodes, where'd you get that tool? I make them and I sell them. So, like I just explained, if anybody wants the tools, they can contact me. Put my email in the description here. It's matty05@aol.com. I put extra ampersands in here just to make it so spam bots don't pick me up. So you can shoot me an email, and in my email, matty05, the O is letter O for my last name is Olson. But yeah, so what I would consider a main kit, it does about 90% of the relevant chainsaws, 372s, 288s, 660s, 026s, all that stuff. Everything from a 346 to a 3120. It'll do all that for $180 shipped. You get a flywheel rod, 3 rods for the PTO side, but if you want any of the weird stuff, like for doing 66, it's an additional $30 a rod. Do I have other tools? As of right now, no. The only other thing that I'm going to be selling is the 288 high tops. So I'm actually reproducing 288 high tops. That's the next thing going. And the reason is if you watch me put crankcases together, the rest of the tools that I use, like for instance the bearing press, it's just a piece of 1/2" threaded rod and some nuts and washers. I mean. So you can go buy this for $2 down at Tractor Supply. So you don't need to get that from me. What is unique to what you're getting from me are the rods and the sleeves and whatnot. Those are a little harder to manufacture on your own. Yeah, every time you use this, if you get a set like this, every time you use it, you're just going to giggle. This is designed to put pressure on the inner race of the bearing only. So you're basically pulling the crank through the bearing or pressing the bearing on via the inner race, depending on how you look at it. But there's essentially no lateral forces, no net lateral forces on the bearing, which means that you're not going to wreck the bearing by doing this. So there's just a rod. This is M10, by the way, in here. So the flywheel rods cover M8 and M10. Large sleeve. Actually, no, I can use a small sleeve here. It doesn't really matter. You can actually use a large sleeve, but It has to be, if you're doing 6202 or smaller, then you want the small sleeve. This one, I was having trouble getting on. There we go. Just means something needs to be like deburred, that's all. Back it off. You just want it loosey-goosey. You don't want it in there tight. Don't need it tight. And the reason I'm always fishing around for things is because I've got bags of nuts and washers that I include with the kit. So, rod, sleeve, handle, nut and washer. And then with this, one of the huge advantages of this setup is you can actually use a ratcheting wrench or a socket. You don't have to use an open-ended wrench on these. It's just so much easier to use than anything else out there on the market. And this just gets sucked right together. And again, if you need to take a phone call in the middle of this, go ahead. Not a problem. That's it. Just like this. Again, make sure your positioning pins are in. And sometimes I actually use clamps if you need to. Or there are times where you get something stuck, like I've actually had oil hoses get stuck. Like, shoot. So you just put this just like that. So your bearings have got to be positioned correctly first. That is very, very important that the bearings are positioned correctly first. And the other thing is, as you're putting this together, if you want to align things, just put a couple of bolts in. That's not hard either. If you want to double, triple check that things are aligned properly, just put a bolt or two in. That's it. Now, what Craig Timmons will tell you, he's one of my subscribers, he actually leaves this all tight before and puts the bolts in, the case bolts. You can if you like. Michael 62er, howdy. You just undo all of it and you gotta case this together. Now, this may be slightly out of alignment, so put all the bolts in and see where it goes. If you need to relieve the pressure, you can tap. I don't like to do that. Sometimes another way to relieve pressure is actually heat the case up a little bit. And that way everything kind of aligns itself. Usually after a couple of heat cycles, it'll align itself anyway. You don't really need to worry about it. But if you're worried about it, then yeah. That's not the right bolt for back there. I thought that was the right bolt for back there. It's not. That'll do. Again, I'm not trying to impact these home. Just want to get them sort of started. And we can see where this goes. Ranch hand, but it'll make it so smooth. Yeah, they really do. It just makes your life easier. If you're putting together even one saw, It just, the thing is about putting together saws, this step can be particularly discouraging. You get down about it, and if you're using these, then it's just not discouraging. And then you feel like, hey, if I can build that, what else can I build? You know, it just keeps going, which is also kind of a problem. Yeah, and this will give this a couple heat cycles. Don't need to play with it. I mean, if you want, you can start tapping things, but you know, tap the case a little bit. But, leave it. Don't mess with it. All right. Next, so let's do this seal holder, but that means I have to do an unboxing. So let's go to that. Any questions on the tools, guys? I mean, that's about as straightforward as it gets for putting a crankcase together. I'll also say this: I don't agree with pulling the crank through the bearing and the seal at the same time. A lot of crankcase halves come like that with seals already installed. That is kind of, if you're trying to do two things at once, it's kind of like putting your pants and your underwear on at the same time. It might work. You might get something stuck. Generally not a good idea. So don't do that. Pull the crank through and then deal with the seals later. And there is a very reliable way to deal with the seals. Okay, so let's do that. That's important. We want to make sure that your seals and everything are on point. Right, the lower end is where most repair shops draw the line, and that's that's the thing about these tools, is that these tools make it actually feasible for repair shops to get stuff done. Before, the other sets of tools that everybody had, things take too long. Here, you don't got to wait for anything. So actually, since all this stuff is here, let's put together a main kit just so everybody can see it. So I'm color coding things now. Small sleeve, large sleeve is green. Flywheel, side rod. I like to make sure everything kind of slides through. Sometimes things get stuck, you gotta deburr them. Not a big deal. I'll just do that here. So I'll put together the main kit here, and if Paula wants it, you can contact me. Perfect. Barbertech coming with the Steel 80 clone. Yep, I know. Seen it. Somebody sends me one, I'll build one. But I don't know. I don't have a particular need for one. I mean, personally, I don't have a need for one, because my 394s are big enough for what I do. And these should slide like that, by the way. So 1, 2, 3 PTO side rods, a flywheel side rod, nuts, washers, and handles. And this is just the way that a main kit comes. If you want any of the additional stuff, so like 880 sleeves, which I have, or the 61 rod for doing the old school 61s or 266s like I just showed, that's an additional $30. This is $180 shipped for these pieces. I'm just going to throw them in a Postal Service flat rate bag with a sticker. So if anybody wants this kit, $180 shipped, all they got to do is send me an email. Oh, and $180, of course. There you go. Let's face it, most people with basic skills and love saw turn to YouTube. Yeah. How many, Bob, did you see how many videos I have? It's like 800. This is ridiculous. Can't believe it. Okay, so that's ready to go pretty much whenever. And just so everybody knows, I don't ask for super chats, I don't ask for donations, I ask for people to buy my tools and buy my high top covers. That way people get something specific, something in their hand for what they send me money for. Really not interested in super chats. Yeah, I saw Walt got it, but it wasn't a kit. He got the standalone saw. I saw that. A little bit of an unboxing here. This is HL Supply. From the 266, this is a an aftermarket spring, which I might put on the clutch. So throw that over there. You viewers watching the videos matters provided don't gain them revenues. Right. By and large, they don't. The originals do because they're monetized, but the live stuff I don't monetize. I don't feel the need to do that. So just hanging out with you guys doesn't gain me revenue specifically. No, I don't get ad revenue or anything for hanging out in this manner. Okay, these look like OEM 266 seals, 372 stuff. What's this? These look like 288 seals, just so I have extras. Good. Okay, so these are the seals. Okay, seal holder. So the seal needs to be popped out from this direction. So this is simple stuff, just simple stuff. There we go. Just use a deep socket and tap it out. Make sure you're on center. Done. Guess nobody really needs an AD. Well, you know, I think I'll do a build if I have the opportunity, but I don't specifically need it. I have too many saws, you know. I have half an acre of land. What do I need saws for? I have saws to hang out with you guys, and I'm doing the 288 high top covers to make money, right? But as far as specific use for the saws, no. I just like hanging out with you guys. Okay, so this seal literally just presses into there. And that's that. Ta-da. I put a little 1184 in there. Now, 1184 seal is pretty good against plastic, but Loctite 518 does not. So I would not use Loctite 518 in here. Just a thought. Sealing ring for 266 is 503 26 0204. 503 26 0204. This is original 61 spike. I don't remember whether I need this on this saw or not. I'll put this over here in the box because I can always add it later. Won't be a big deal. Alright, next thing to do on here is the O-ring. Again, you can go to my O-ring substitution video and see what specific O-rings, but it just snaps on. You've got to have that O-ring every stinking time you do this. So now, on the O-ring, I am going to use the anaerobic sealer. Hey, Dennis. Which is the Loctite 518. Little bit of blue Loctite on the bolt holes here. Now, this crankshaft is quite tapered, so I really don't need the adapter, the seal adapter for this. On the other side, I will, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. Loctite 518. This is anaerobic gasket maker. Don't need much, but I put it right on the rubber because this actually seals rubber to metal quite well. Okay. And you can just slide this right on. Put a little grease on there if you want, whatever. Very gently and evenly. It's on and in. Now, let's say you wanted to double check this, which would not be unreasonable. Pull it back off. If you can. Because you want to make sure that that O-ring didn't get pinched. Check and make sure that the O-ring did not get pinched, which it did not. One thing I see quite a bit is actually a pinch on the O-ring from the factory. And that becomes the seal that everything fails to. That's it. You can get really OCD about this. Just let everybody know. I'm going to be OCD. I'm going to pull it up one more time. Nope, there's nothing getting pinched. I don't like it when it seats asymmetrically like that. I want it to seat all at the same time. I guess if I really wanted to, I could seat it with the bolts. So let's do that. That way it's even. How's that for an idea? Yeah, and I might build one just for fun. I might build an 880 for fun. It really, most of the stuff I spend my own money on. I really do. So, you know, I'm spending my own money on all this stuff. If somebody wants to commission a build, then we can talk about that. Right now I'm just so busy that it makes it pretty hard for me to do anything. Yeah, so we're going to put this down nice and even. Now your seal's on. That's that. So you're going to feel a little bit more resistance with that on there, but it's fine. Okay, let's go to this one. Now, these seals I do find interesting because for whatever reason, they stick out by a millimeter. I've never seen, I think on the 262, it does that also, but I've never seen a good explanation as to why. So I don't actually make them stick out that far. Junk. So this is all crudded up. So let's get our wire wheel out. Make sure this is all good, cleaned up. Just a wire wheel and my Dremel. Nothing super fancy. You want to make sure that this runs free. That does. It's actually pretty good. This oil is a little buggered, but for at least right now, I'm not that worried about it. Any price? No, not that I know of. No, there's no. I've looked and tried to find information on that. I do not see it. It's a good question though. What's the what's the 880 going to be? I don't know as far as price goes. So I just tap seals in like this. And I tap it down flush. If for whatever reason you feel the need to inset it later, you move it. Not that big of a deal. For whatever reason, the thing is the double lip has to be over, the double lip seal has to be over the lip on the crank. As long as it is, it's fine. You don't need to, it's not rubbing. So, yeah. Anyway. So let's get, here's the other O-ring. Brand new. There you go, click. There we go. Now we need the quad rings. Again, go back to the O-ring substitution videos. There's information on this, but McMaster Car sells these. I think it's McMaster Car sells these, like 100 of them for the same price you buy one for from Husqvarna, and it's the same stuff. It's not actually any different. There's their quad ring. Or X-ring, or whatever you want to call it. Alright, old one gets junked. It's this little tiny little thing here. I have hundreds of them. No point in not having hundreds of them. So, what else are we missing here? Oiler dip tube.
If you guys want to rough house.
Sounds like the kids are being a pain. Now what I like to do with these is, I'm 184 this, kind of glue this in. If you're using a brand new piece of rubber, then you don't necessarily need to do this. if you're not, then why not coop at home? Okay. A little bit of blue Loctite. Okay, or a lot of blue Loctite for oiler bolts. Now, here is where you need, there's a lip on the crank. Here's where you need either the Coke can trick, which I came up with some years back, or the Husqvarna version, which actually is, if you ask me, right nice. So this is a sleeve that helps with these seals. Seal sleeve. And this makes it sure that you don't actually prolapse the seal, because if that spring pops out, you're sunk. You won't know it until you do a vacuum leak or you end up with a cooked head. So this goes down. That's it. Pull. Don't check it. Don't anything. Just put your put your bolts in and go. This bolt looks kind of buggered. Let's get new. Always nice to have an assortment of bolts hanging around. I get a lot of these from eBay. Just make sure it's, you know, grade 8 and or whatever it is, and the right length and all that jazz. Am I missing any comments, guys? I don't see anything currently. Okay. Done. Again, if you find that the seal needs to be set in a little further, then set it in a little further. And actually it does look like it needs to be set in just a tad further. So, good news is we can do that. I get one shot at this though. There we go. So you set the seal in just a little bit further and make sure that lip is just beyond the crank lip. Okay. And this is really hard to see, but there. There's a lip right on the crank. Okay. I think enough with the 266 for now. I think we need to move on. Let's do a little bit of cleanup, and then we'll do the 372. So, what's this? I think this is a 288 head. .288 head, 54 millimeter. That's for a special project. We're going to ignore that for now. Okay, next. I've got that unboxing done. I've got more unboxing to do. Let's put this. Because what I'm going to do with that, with the 266, is I'm going to turn it into effectively into a 272. I'm going to do a conversion, and then we're going to figure out the whole high top thing. Shh, don't tell anybody. I really want to do that. That's the objective. That's the goal. Yeah, we got to get to unboxing here. So this is an important one. Are the 288 heads coming without the ding from the wrist pin? Nope, they're not. They have dings. I can return this and get 10 more of them, and they'll all have dings. Just so you know, here's why. Because if this goes back and forth, it just does that. Hey, Megan. Welcome. Yeah, I made it. So I can't explain that to Husqvarna, but clearly, but I don't know what to do about that. And it's not that, I mean, they're not necessarily ignoring me, it's just that they're never going to talk to me in the first place. You know? I know, I can talk to Bruce again and see if he has any pull, but I doubt it. They'll just send new heads all day long as opposed to package them correctly. I don't know what to say. Alright, so this comes from Mike. And we've got a whole pile of mufflers here that have been blasted, which is exciting. Else, because we'll get to those eventually. Most importantly, 372 crankcases. Hey Pat, how you doing? Matt Fort, what's going on? 14 people here on a Sunday. That's cool. Welcome, y'all. project. We'll leave that over there. Don't know what that is, but that's fine. You can hear the blasting media inside here. Okay. And Mike wraps these like crazy. Yeah, YouTube sometimes notifies and sometimes they don't. Pain in the neck. I might need, actually, this is the paper. 372. There we go. Powder coat. Powder coat. This is what this does. Don't worry, Bob. I got two here. One of these is for Marcello. The other is for whoever. Isn't that cool? Bob. Get it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I need to put an insert in that one. Both these parts, see how we did. go. So I definitely want to build one of these up for Marcello here. Let's look. Check the bolt holes. Right now, yeah, I think I'll build up this one and that one. Put these two aside for the moment. Hold on. So now we got to come back. The wire wheel. Make sure everything's cleaned up. Come back at that later. This case, let's get a flat really? Let's get a piece of granite out here. Want the case to be flat. Yeah, so what happens to the magnesium, you get some porosity in it, which is really, it makes a great case for using the 1184. Yeah, okay, good. want, you can take this up to like 400 grit or whatever, but don't usually feel the need to do that. You can use glass, yep. You can use glass. All right, you want to take it to 220? Let's take it to 220. Again, a little bit of porosities in here, so nothing I'm really worried about. But you can go to 400 if you want. Yeah, Pat, we're pulling for you. That's for sure. Let's get brake cleaner here. Most concerned with degreasing the seal surfaces. That's important. And this sealing surface is really thin, so the thing with seals, 372 seals, is this is really thin, so this has got to be clean, degreased, good to go. No debris. The tag, the serial tag here is not into the oil tank, so I don't have to really worry about that. But the little centered bronze piece, which is the oil tank vent here, done. And then might as well put these in. Let's see. If it's fairly stiff, I don't JB weld them. If they're not, if they're a little bit on the loosey-goosey side, I'll actually JB weld these studs in. Use my chunker. Doesn't have, the center punch doesn't have quite enough. Oh, to put these down. Okay, that's good. They're tight. Obviously end up needing more hands than I got. get the sound change when you're home. I'm completely OCD about it. Get your M8 by 1.25 die. Right on there. Crunchies. You can get rid of the crunchies. Good. These away. What do you think? You think we're pretty well ready for some goofy stuff and go here? I'd say so. Gravity will assist. Only problem is getting out of the basement again. Okay. I have that problem with my solar water heaters. Bearings here. I'm low on Natchy bearings. I've got a whole pile now of 6203s, but now apparently I'm low on 6202s, so whatever. These are 6202s, Natchies. These happen to be open, but you can get the sealed ones or the armored ones. It really doesn't matter what you get. They're all the same. Just pull the seals of the armor out, shield or whatever you call it. And I just tap these just to get them started. You do not hit the inner race, outer race only. Again. I have a washer that just barely covers the outer race there. Here, again, I like to use my fender washers. Tend to work really well. Just 1/2-inch threaded rod and a good assortment of washers. You can pull in these bearings like butter. You look at it, you say, oh, it's a little off or a little kilter, off kilter or something. That's okay. Undo it. Right? And get it started back on the right path just with a gentle tap. You know what? It's a little off kilter. often hear the sound change when it is correct. Again, you're not trying to bash the bearing in, you're just trying to draw it in real slow with effectively a homemade press. As long as it's straight, you're good. You can feel it much better. Nice and even. And on this one, because it's the flywheel side, this one sinks in quite a ways. So just send it all the way home. If you get really bored, yes, you can use an impact. That's it. There you go. That one's ready to rock. Marcello, buddy, your 372 is coming. Same deal on this side. I pull this all the way to the PTO side. Basically, this goes all the way home. You don't have to pull this up against the oil or anything like that in some of them. This feels like it's going good. Should be snug, but if this flops in here, you've got a problem. And just to show you can do it. Fresh new bearings are in. Alright, now hopefully we won't need this one anymore today. I have more crankcases to build, but I think we're gonna get out of this and kind of call it a day here. Alright, let's see how we do. Now I need 372 case bolts, which I have quite a few of. It's more a matter of finding them. case bolts. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. And 2 positioning pins. There's 3. 2 positioning pins. That. Alright, speaking of that, so now I gotta do this unboxing. So far this is 3 boxes opened, right? And I have more to go. This is a highway gasket kit, which I do tend to approve of for 372s. Don't necessarily need an OEM kit here. Okay. Got that open and out and available. Goop it up. Actually, Loctite first, right? Loctite first. Coat the porous areas first. Go back to over here. A lot of little niceties coming on this saw, you'll see. This is not intended to be a super duper duper. It's just going to be nice. Because Marcello doesn't need something with 200 pounds of compression. A little extra pop will be nice. But he doesn't need something that's crazy. Gentlemen, you know what I've found, and this is I've been doing this whole dentistry thing for a while. I've really found that everybody struggles with something. You know, some people obviously more than others, but the truth is basically everybody is struggling with something. And it's just how it is. You know? The other thing is I found that people that do the best throughout life are really good at playing whack-a-mole. You know, if an issue pops up, they whack it back down. Now, some issues you can't. It's not like, you know, it's easy to get rid of those issues sometimes, but the people that do the best overall are people that are great at playing whack-a-mole. It's the folks that let issues catch up to them and define them that ends up being a problem. From my experience. But everybody's got their own struggle. It's pretty crazy. Clean, gooped, degreased. Okay, anybody wants to see the tools again? Here's we're going to use the tools again. So here's the 372 crank. And I'm going to do this largely in midair here. This is right off the hop, off the shelf. And then we'll use a large sleeve on this side. Handle. And everybody's got different life experiences, which is, you know, pretty interesting. But so far, I've met a lot of different people, you know. I've had a wonderful privilege like that to just meet so many different people and really meet a lot of people that are struggling, you know, for one reason or another. This crank is pretty clean, so no worries here. Just going to pull this crank in. Stops. That's it. I am live, just so you know. Whole thing apart. If anybody wants a toolkit, they can contact me. My email is in the chat. This away for a moment. Don't need that again. Okay, positioning pins are in. Do not want to screw those up. Leave on.
The hamburgers now, so I guess,
You're making hamburgers now?
yeah, they're gonna be ready pretty quick.
Good. I'll be right there. Well, gentlemen, you heard it. My wife is making burgers, so guess what? Perfect excuse for me to be done so, right? Loosey-goosey. This does not have to be tight. Don't make it tight. Rod goes on, loosey-goosey. Handle goes on, loosey-goosey. Then you tighten this down. But other than that, the whole thing is intended to have lots of play. Burgers does take precedence, of course. See? Goes so smooth. This ratchet's on its own. Don't even need... If you feel like it, you can put a screw in here, you know, just to make sure it lines up. If you want. To help it line up. And this hand's free to do whatever, which is nice. That's it. Now we reverse it. Good. There we go. So again, this build will be for Marcello. We're going to build this up nice. It's going to be built up really, really nice for him. Nothing got stuck. Sometimes things get stuck. Make sure the heads on the bolts are okay. Again, not trying to impact these on, just want to get them in snug. And then we'll take them down by hand. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Really. Thank you. Got a nice squeeze out, you know. So this is an awfully long span in here. Just makes it nice to have a little bit of goop on it. Still a spring chicken, Bob. All right. Okay. While we're at it, let's just take a razor, zip off your tabs. So what I might do on this is might just check squish. I've got a brand new head, by the way, here for this. I might just check squish. then what I'll do is I'll just mill this to optimize squish. I'm probably not gonna. Wait, I don't want to get, again, 300 pounds of compression. That's not the point. For this saw, we just want to make it nice for Marcello. There you go. 372. So we'll continue this build later, put the seals in and whatnot. This is going to be a straightforward build, I think. Getting this up to, I don't know what happened. Sorry, guys. Okay, so for anybody that that is interested, then they can email me if they want the tools. Upcoming, stay tuned. 288 stuff, very exciting with the high tops and whatnot. If anybody wants the samples, those are on eBay right now. We're going to be doing a little bit better than that pretty soon. Some little niceties in here, which we'll get to some other day. Got some new 288 carburetors. I got a bunch of stuff in boxes here, so we'll go over that some other time. Very excited. I'm out. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will catch you guys later. Email me if you need anything. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye. Be safe. Thanks, Bob.